contracting for goods and services with any county agency, prohibits any elected or appointed officer or employee from appearing on behalf of any private interest before any county agency except as specifically provided for by law, and redefines the use of the term agency. Reference Communication 600, introduced by Ms. Poindexter, postponed January 21st, 2014, February 18th, 2014, and March 18th and 31st, 2014. Note there is a pending motion by Ms. Eoff and duly seconded by Mr. Kern to recommend passage of Bill 181 on first reading.
Okay, who would like to start the discussion on 181? Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. At the last meeting, we agreed to hold this over and have the administration advise us if there were any problems. So is there anybody from the administration to advise us of problems? Okay. There's no problem then. I see no reason to have this bill where well, no, they're supposed to be here. The administration brought this bill forward.
Excuse me, Ford. We have finance and we have also Kevin Dayton.
Sheeta.
Good afternoon, members and committee. Kevin Dayton, Assistant to Mayor Canoy, here to help if I can.
The question is, we gave you 2 weeks to come forward and tell us what problems you've experienced with this to justify making this change in the code. So we're very, very interested in hearing about the problems.
Councilmember Ford, it's not so much that there have been specific problems as you know, there's been a good deal of testimony in support of this change, and Mayor felt that it was an appropriate change to the code to boost confidence, public confidence in the system.
Okay, thank you. All right, we've had a lot of discussion on this particular bill, and I certainly understand and commend the mayor for wanting to deal with the perception issue. But when I look at this, I think we're going to wind up costing the county a whole lot more money for something that it may be a perception problem, but not a problem in reality. As you know, I'm not happy with this bill, top or bottom portions of it. And since there is no identified problem, I believe that we are going to be making a serious mistake and cost the taxpayers millions of dollars potentially by doing the fair treatment portion of the bill. On the second half, I have never been happy with the conflict of interest section. I think it is wordy without really improving this section of the bill at all. We use sealed bids. That takes care of the issue. It's not like everybody's running around and talking to everybody. It's a sealed bid process, which by its nature stops anybody from passing information. So, again, I can't support this bill, either portion of the bill. I yield.
Okay, Councilmember Kern.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this has been quite the process. At the onset of this, I felt like I supported it because of that perception, and the deeper I dug into it and saw the potential ramifications of what this could do, it started to concern me. And we did receive the testimony by Brian DeLima. And I think this is, and I mentioned this multiple times, that I got contacted by another individual outside of any of this that works for the county, does some contracting in a completely different department, apples and oranges, like nowhere close. And his bids come in around $50,000. He's the only one that can provide that service or is licensed for that service here in the county. The next closest bid is, and this is all through sealed bids as well, is an Oahu firm that's $250,000 to $300,000. So it's a huge increase. And looking at these numbers, again, the numbers that we got in this testimony did come through sealed bids, so there's nothing there. You know, price per square foot, drywall clean per square foot, the low bidder, which is Carmina Pumping, is $30 a square foot. The other bidder, the only other bidder, $200 a square foot. Wow. To drywall flush, is $20 a square foot by the low bidder, and the only other bidder was $40. So that's 100% more. And the other one from $30 square foot to $200. It's incredible. We're talking millions and millions of dollars, and just from the trying to be a fiscal steward of our taxpayer money and trying to do the right thing and trying to balance the perception with the finance. I can't go any further forward on this bill with these numbers and this. If there was something else that was coming in that was compelling, I would look at that and try to find that balance. But right now, it's really challenging, and for me to vote yes right now and potentially cost all of us here in the county on this one bid alone, which the low bidder came in at a total of $8.9 million, and the only other bidder came in at $35.2 million. I can't do that. It's not in me to potentially burden our county with that kind of money. If we're talking Manini, small percentage, 2-3%, and it's going to clear public perception, I could do that. But it's not. We're potentially the perception still may be there, and it's just the perception is, wow, we spend a lot more money on things than we actually needed to. Not to mention, I like the fact of keeping our money here in the county of Hawaii the best that we can, and providing jobs to those, even if they are in some way relation to the county, as long as it's legitimate and it is ethical. That keeps money in our community, and that money circulates in our community, and that's really important. The less we can export our money away, the better off we are. So this has been a bear. I'm going to yield now. I think I made my point, and that's what I have to stand on, trying to be the fiscally responsible as I possibly can. So with that, I yield, and thank you.
Councilmember Willie?
There are clearly legitimate interests on both sides. This isn't something where there's a good guy side and a bad guy side, and are trying to be fiscally responsible and clearly ethical are certainly both legitimate concerns. I am going to support this, and I would say, and I'm going to wait for them to stop talking. I don't know why. I do think I do have heard of specific incidences, and maybe, maybe I ought to be going and researching them, but there have been some clear problems. And regardless of what's said here, I think part of the reason this is being brought forward is that that I am trust that the mayor has the ability to see whether this is needed, and he is the one that's doing much of the negotiation. On that one contract, I think if we were to pick that one contract out as the basis for voting against this, I think that would be a mistake without a further understanding of what went into that contract and why those numbers were so disparate, or if there's any other particular contracts. Anyway, I think some of the wording I would probably change, like controlling interest to significant interest, and I also find some of the wording on the last one, that a number of you have mentioned, that part, conflict of interest, part C, I find it difficult to understand. I'm not quite sure where it says no officer or employee shall represent private interests in any action. Would that mean where they're being paid to represent them versus being a friend, or even though you can't represent them in any capacity? So I think that there are some things that could be clarified. But I just want to say that I feel that moving towards a higher level of ethics is important, and I support this, and I do not believe it's something that's only based on appearances. So I will, if someone wants to work on improving some of the language, I would be happy to support that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Iligan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Kern pretty much made my point, so I'm just going to ditto him, and I will be opposing this. Thank you.
Any other council members before I...
Yes, Madam Chair.
Councilmember Onishi?
Thank you. You know, I think this is great dialogue, what we're doing, and I think the good thing about this, we're educating the public, because what I've been hearing all the discussion through this time was perception that the public feels that the county government is not doing the proper thing. And by now, with this discussion, I think we're getting it out to the public to let them know what the situation is. And also, like, for example, like Mr. Kern mentioned, you had these two bids in front of us, and one was really drastically much less than the other one. So it's showing that the process is good, that it's saving the county money. And also, we do have finance here, so I'd like to call up Nancy and Steve, if you guys can come forward, please. You guys can introduce yourselves.
I'm Nancy Crawford, Director of Finance.
I'm Steve Wilhelm, Procurement and Specification Specialist.
Thank you very much.
Purchasing Division.
Okay. And then to me, I mean, I'm, listening to the discussion like that, it's just that, it feels like maybe the burden is not really upon the councilmen, it's not upon the employees, but basically it's upon the Department of Finance, and saying that maybe the Department of Finance is not really doing their proper job, or that there could be some, I guess, things could happen within that. But I don't think that. I really trust you folks, and I know that you folks do the best that you folks can. And so, I was really surprised that this was brought up, so soon, so that, we couldn't really go out and get more information. But I did send Steve an email this morning, or this later part of this morning, and I asked him some questions. And Steve, what I'll do is I'll ask you the question again, and if you can kind of answer those again.
Sure.
Is that okay? Okay. So what I did is I asked Steve, okay, if he knew, or I guess the question was, we wanted to find out if there has been any complaints on how the sealed bids are done.
As far as I know, not really. There aren't very many complaints. The only complaints that I've received have been from vendors who say that they weren't aware that a bid was out.
Okay.
But we post our bid on the county website, and we post it on the state website.
Okay, good. Okay, then also I asked you if you had any comments on the process of how the bids are created and how they are awarded.
Okay, the bids are created in conjunction with the using agencies, all the using agencies within the county. We work on the specifications and try to make the specifications as fair as possible for everybody. Okay. Sometimes specifications are written and they may be restrictive, but every vendor is given the opportunity to look at the specifications and put in their comments saying that such and such is restrictive, we can't bid because of such and such. At that point, we go back to the using agency, tell them the concerns of the vendors. If it's a legitimate concern and something that's not going to affect the integrity of whatever product we're buying or whatever service we're trying to receive, then we do an addendum.
Okay.
And we make the changes to make it as fair to everybody as possible.
So that means that, if a company looked at the bid and they felt that, okay, this is too restrictive, so they come and they I guess, come to the finance department, and then they, I guess,
they write into us.
Okay.
Everything has to be in writing.
Okay, and then what they say, like how it's being too restrictive?
Yes, they would point out that such and such a specification, we're not able to bid because of this, right. And we feel, if you change it to this, then we can bid.
Okay.
Then we go back to the using agency. Okay. And then we try to work something out.
And then, without using any company names, but have you had any experience, I mean, and this is for the public's knowledge, is that you have run into this situation before, correct? Like,
Oh, yes.
Okay. And so can you kind of explain about one incident where, it was too restrictive, and then when it first went out, the bids, and then you guys got, I guess, the bids back, and then somebody made a complaint, and then so you guys didn't award it, you guys went rebid again, correct?
Okay.
Or something.
Yeah.
But you can kind of explain on that.
Okay, in that one instance where that happened, that is what the contract which you guys are talking about is the one with Kamina Pumping. We put out a bid. Some of the specifications, working with the using agency, got changed a little bit to try and make it to make sure that whoever's going to bid has the proper that they're able to do the job, that they've been doing the job for a while, and they have the experience, is what I'm trying to say. The day we opened the bid, two vendors came. One came to the bid opening, didn't put in a bid, but just stood there and said, yeah, we couldn't bid because it was too restrictive. Another vendor wrote in that day and said, yeah, it's too restrictive. We went back, we did not award the bid, we went back and we changed the specifications based on, their experience, so that they could bid.
Right.
And then the bid was still awarded to the same vendor.
Okay. So do you think that anything should be changed in the process?
I think our bidding process is working very fine right now. Like the council members have said, it is a sealed bid.
Right.
And right now it's an electronic sealed bid. It's not where you can drop off your bid in a bid box anymore. Everything is done electronically, so all the bids are sealed at the time of the bid opening. That's the very first time anybody can see the bid.
Okay. Now, anybody in the department is able to, I guess, open that prior?
No.
No?
No.
Nancy, is there? To me, I think finance, to the process that you folks have, to me, it's all fair to the public.
We try to be.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members? Councilmember Ford.
You don't know. Just for the public's information, I'm probably one of the most skeptical people on the council, the way things are run. But I have to say, through the investigation of this council, through this bill, and listening to the departments explaining all the sealed bid processes, I have to say, number one, I have to commend the mayor for even attempting this, even though it was a perception issue. On the other hand, Mr. Kern and certainly Mr. Illegon and I all agree that it's not worth costing the taxpayer millions more in dollars that could be spent for other things just to eliminate a perception that is not really a problem. We've had no instances brought before the council that indicated a problem other than the perception issue. So, again, I will not be supporting this bill, but I do want to thank the mayor for bringing it forward and allowing us to air this in public, and therefore the public will be more informed. Thank you.
I'm going to close out by just giving my opinion. And I got a testimony from one of the people in the public that said it has been well publicized that nepotism and conflicts of interest between county officials and private contractors exist, but not much has been done to stop it. This lack of fairness and openness undermines county credibility in contracting. What I'm agreeing with is, we're talking about bid process, saving money. For me, that's not the issue. The issue is about ethics and conflicts of interest. Where I worked prior to, we could save a lot of money. We had an employee who could do something at cost on a service, and we couldn't do it because that's an employee. And we have this out in the, the private sector and some other nonprofits, and they have ethics, they have conflicts of interest, nepotism, And here, if a county employee has a direct interest in the company, and the son, it's like me, if I'm going to say my son is a tree trimmer and I'm part of the company, and I say, well, he's going to go do a sealed bid, but, you know, he's going to get the bid, that's wrong. To me, that's wrong, and all I'm saying and what I'm fighting for is what the public wants. The public wants some accountability in government. And if you read some of the testimony, and even Mr., you know, as I spoke with Mr. DeLima too once, the way the bill was written is fine, because some of the things that we have already written protects that, where if they don't have a direct interest in the company, then, you know, it's okay for their members to bid. So the way the ethics bill is currently written, I know he was okay with that, is when we started to make amendments to try to make it stricter and pull other things in that was not okay. So I'm looking at it as this is a start, at least a good faith effort on our county's part to our public, that we owe them that. It doesn't do anybody any harm by starting something like this. It doesn't put them out of any work or business, but it holds people accountable and holds the county accountable to what is fair for everybody. You know, it's not fair that our county people are the ones working and getting all these bids and doing all of that. I think the public has the right, and I'm just saddened by some of the things that I hear, because we're going into, well, we're going to save money for the county, we're going to do this, and it's about ethics. It's about ethics and conflicts of interest. So I'm supporting this, and I'm just saddened by a lot of things that I heard. So at this time, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote. Mr. Clark?
Ms. Hia?
Aye.
Ms. Ford?
No.
Mr. Iligan? Mr. Kanuha?
Aye.
Mr. Kern?
No.
Mr. Onishi?
No.
Ms. Willie? Aye. Mr. Yoshimoto?
No.
Chair Poindexter?
Aye.
Chair Poindexter, you have 4 ayes and 5 noes.
Okay, so Bill 181 moves forward to council with a negative recommendation. Okay, Mr. Clerk, will you please read in Bill 231, please?
Bill 231 adopts a pay plan for persons employed by the county other than those